Jack feels like he's living another man's life, and he almost feels guilty that this woman is so trusting of him and so in love with him, and yet it's not him. So that's awkward for him. And he begins to realize that he really wants this life. But the truth of it is, with Manhattan Jack in that life, the marriage is a little bit fraught with tension, because why is Jack acting this way? She has just the right amount of seriousness to anchor the scenes in reality, but she's always got impeccable timing and impeccable style in this genre of film, and so she lends a lot of credibility to the family man. The thing is, we had so much fun that we lost a lot of time laughing. I don't know if you heard about that, but yeah, I mean, it got to the point where it wasn't funny anymore, where like we lost an hour because we were laughing so much for God knows what reason, just at the absurdity of some of the choices we were making, you know, and at the absurdity of the situations that we were trying to act. And so whenever I worked with Jeremy, I was a little afraid that it was going to happen again. We both had that fear where we had to be like the two kids at the back of the class in the schoolroom who were laughing had to be separated. I'm blown away by what she does on film, and there's total honesty there and commitment, and she's a 100-point professional. I mean, you ask her to do something, she does it every time. I don't know how she does it, and you never feel like she's forcing it or faking it. A lot of times children have, I think, on film more of a innocence, and in that they seem more real than when adults act. There's just a fresher, more pure look in their eyes somehow. So I really enjoyed working with her. I think she's going to be a big actress. It is saying that there is more to life than you know, the money and the freedom or the single life of pursuing that freedom. That if you try a little bit, if you look at what responsibility, I mean real responsibility, creates in you, it can make you a better man.
There's something about the way that he shoots. Actually, now I'm beginning to understand it, shooting with him. He does, he makes sure that he's covered in a way that he can always keep a pace going. No matter what the scene, he can keep an excitement. Like it's like the film is walking, and there's always one foot out there, and it's going to, you know what I mean? There's this perpetual motion. So I was nervous for the screen test, and then I met with Nick. I mean, just like, hi, how are you? You stand there, and I guess I'm here, kind of, you know, thing. And he's very generous. That's a classic thing about actors, but he's very kind and soft-spoken. And funny and dry, and I didn't feel intimidated or anything like that. There's something between these two that's extraordinary to me that I think is inspiring. They have an ability to flare up at each other and great passion of different sorts and different circumstances, and then there's this very calm and quick and lovely recovery. And I admire that, and I would say that I've had that in my life with David, and I recognize it as extraordinary, and I'm not quite sure how that plays. But it just felt like something that it's a relationship that I think should be shown on screen, what they have. I think it is really lovely. And it would certainly make you think about some of the choices that you made, especially those just post-collegiate choices, which my personal post-collegiate choices were outrageous and dumb. One of them was to become an actor. And so I fancy the thought, what if I'd stayed in school? What if I'd continued on to law school? What if I'd actually become
a vet.
My character is kind of a chameleon, and he gives tests to people. You know, if theoretically there's 144,000 that are going to ascend, he's testing to see who they're going to be, you know, who's going to get to go on to the next, you know, God's kingdom. So he's kind of he's the SAT guy. Then once we're all on the set, then we start going, okay, well, let's move this here and see what happens if this goes here. And, you know, it's just always alive. That's what's fun about it, is it's not like these are the lines, say the lines, there's no room for embellishment, there's no room for play. So, you know, because once you have living people, it changes. So it's cool that, you know, we've kind of figured out a kind of vocabulary. And Nick's very serious and, you know, consummate actor, so that's all good. I've been really blessed and really fortunate because I've gotten to work on the things I've wanted to work on, and they've been really valuable experiences for me, and I've learned a lot, and I've made a lot of good friends and a lot of good relationships in the business. He's more like an overworked social worker. That's how I'm playing it anyway. Like, this guy, he's doing a job, just like you're doing a job, just like the dude that works down at the post office is doing a job. He's got a job to do. Granted, you know, he's one of the chosen, and he's, you know, half human, half, or whatever he is, he's not of this world, but it's still a job, you know, it's a drag. I punch the clock like all you guys, you know, I mean, I got headaches just like you got headaches, you know. I don't want to work with this guy. This guy's a lot of work, you know. I'm working Christmas. Who wants to work Christmas? So it's not all good, you know.
I'd read the script and I just was completely drawn in. It was Capra-esque in a way, but it's so contemporary and original, having its roots, you know, and homages and stuff to older stuff was great. But it's about all the really great stuff of finding your soulmate and being given a glimpse, which we never do get a chance to. Through the magic of movie making, we can get a glimpse of this guy's life. Brett gives us a very long leash. He likes to bring the freaks to the show and then watch the freak show. And I love it, you know. And it's so great to bounce off Nick's energy. And I had only met Nick a couple times briefly, and it's something very surreal about our relationship in the movie and ours as human beings, because we kind of have this kindred spirit where, I mean, it seems like we do. We're suddenly speaking shorthand to each other. And we can kind of look at each other and just, at one point, I don't want to jinx it, but we completely lost it. Kept laughing, and I couldn't regain it. It's never happened to me in my life. Tears just shooting out of my eyes. And you know, you're on a huge movie, and suddenly, like, everyone's staring at you, and you can't hold it together. This is great. This has been great. What an amazing cast, man. When you've got Don Cheadle and Téa Leoni and Nick Cage and everything, it's just, you know you're in the good stuff. I feel really blessed to be surrounded by those type of people. Here's a movie about a guy who passed up this incredible woman and is preoccupied with all the material things that go around with, like, kind of the gravy of life, you know? And suddenly it's about him getting the perspective to see this beautiful, incredible woman that's in his life. And it overshadows everything else. And it's about finding your soulmate and the journey. And it's really cool that a guy who is still on his journey is making this, you know, because he's still trying to hunt it down, which makes it great.
We're going into it with such a strong piece of material, something that's so strong that it's kind of like more lax for us, because we're like, we know we have this. Now all we can do is make it better. If we say the lines on the page, it's going to be brilliant. If we come up with other stuff, then it can even be better than brilliant. You know, so it's really that's the work. You know, that's the environment that I create as a director, and the script allows me to do that. And he's a guy who's a ruler of his own universe. He loves his life. He's on top of the world, and he doesn't realize what he's missing. And what he's missing is love. He chooses the good life. You know, but the irony of it is, what is the good life? Is it with a wife and kids in Jersey, you know, working in a tire store, or is it on top of the world in a penthouse working on Wall Street, making millions of dollars. You know, so what is the good life? And that's what this movie really is about, I think. He said, I saw Rush Hour with my father, and I loved it. And he said, I'm going to do this movie with you. And I was like, are you kidding me? I was like, yes! I left there, I was like, yes! I was like, so excited. And here we are, we're shooting the movie. And for me, it's like a dream come true. I mean, you know, especially Nick Cage is of my generation, and I grew up watching Nick Cage movies, you know, from Raising Arizona to Moonstruck to Vampire's Kiss, all these movies. It's like I'm the biggest fan of him. We did a lot of screen tests, which I was very fortunate, very lucky to get the opportunity to do that, to read with Nick. And Nick gave us a lot of time to do that. And Téa just had an amazing amount of chemistry. She has an amazing amount of, you know, she can pull off the dramatic moments, and she could pull off, more importantly, and the harder thing, is she could pull off the comedic moments, but she's not really being funny, she's really the straight man. And she has to be, the timing is very important for that, you know? Someone's being funny in a scene, or someone's in a situation, which Nick is in, which he's losing his mind. You gotta feed it to him, you know? And she has an incredible sense of comedy, and she's a wonderful actress. It's a special film because I think it's going to leave people walking out of the theater going, I'm going to call that girl. I'm going to take that job. Not like, oh, having a regret, saying, oh my God, you know, I'm not going to let this opportunity go. I think it's going to inspire people before they make decisions in their life.
The great thing about this movie, the wonderful thing about this movie, is that it's everybody's baby. I think universally everyone on this set and everyone associated with this really feels proprietary about it. Wants to make sure it gets nurtured, gets the right bottle, gets the right pacifier. Brett somehow, in his own inimitable fashion, had gotten a hold of the piece of material and read it. And from that moment on, I think it was just destiny that Brett was going to get to direct it, because he read it, and though he was a young man who was not married and had probably never had the same kind of regrets or questions as some of the people that other people read it, he said, this is a movie I must make. Well, the script always attracted a lot of interesting leading men, but the guys who wrote it actually thought, as they wrote it, had in their mind Nicolas Cage. And, you know, that doesn't always work out that way, but that's who they had, because it's a very unique role in the sense that it requires a lot of comedy, but requires someone to be very serious as well. There's a lot of facets to the role, and Nick brings a particular set of skills to it. As good as the script was, and the script was one of the hottest scripts around town, they've all brought it up. So, I mean, I don't usually gush. I'm not a gushing type of guy. Like, it just isn't my nature, and I know how difficult it is about movies. But I have to say that it's been one of the best experiences, as good experiences I could have ever hoped for in a movie.